My wife died 3 years ago, but at 2:13 a.m., my phone rang. A little girl was crying, and then she said, "Dad, why didn't you save Mom?" The rain was merciless. It pounded London streets like bullets. Neon signs bled across wet asphalt, turning the city into a nightmare. It was exactly 2:13 a.m. A black taxi slowed outside St. Jude's Hospital. The door opened slowly. Ethan Cole stepped out barefoot. His feet sank into freezing puddles. Icy water sent shocks up his legs, but something else caught his attention. Fresh blood stained his right sleeve. He touched it with trembling fingers. It was still warm, wet, and real, but his mind was a complete blank. The last 2 hours were completely erased. He had no memory, no recollection, just emptiness. Suddenly, his phone vibrated. An unknown number. He answered, pressing the cold phone to his ear. Heavy, ragged breathing came through first, then a small girl's voice. Ethan Cole was once a giant journalist. Fearless, sharp, and relentless. He exposed powerful people without hesitation. But that was in another life. Now, at 38, he was just a hollow shell, a ghost haunting his own apartment. The place smelled of stale whiskey, old dust, and decay. For 3 long years, everything remained completely unchanged. Unopened letters lay piled behind the door, and her clothes were still untouched in the closet. On the kitchen counter sat a dirty mug, with Claire's silver wedding ring inside, resting in old residue. He could not bring himself to touch it. Every single night, the same nightmare returned. Dark, freezing water, bubbles rising to the surface, and Claire's pale hand reaching for him from the depths. He swam with all his strength, screaming her name underwater, but she always slipped away into the void. Then his eyes would snap open, heart pounding like a drum, cold sweat dripping, and his breath broken. It was always the same. The digital clock showed exactly 3:17 a.m., not 3:16, not 3:18, the exact same time every night. He stopped sleeping. He stopped living. He was trapped in a prison of guilt. 3:30 a.m. The hospital cafeteria felt sterile and lifeless under the buzzing white lights. Refrigerators hummed in the background, and the smell of cheap coffee and disinfectant hung in the air. Lena Moore sat by the window corner in her blue nurse uniform. Her eyes were beautiful but heavy with a deep sadness older than her years. She looked completely exhausted, not just from work, but from carrying invisible burdens. This had become their unspoken routine. 2 broken people meeting in the dead of night, sharing vending machine coffee in long silences. Ethan sat across from her. His trembling hand lifted the cup, and hot coffee almost spilled. Without saying a word, Lena gently slid 2 sugar packets toward him. "The sugar helps with the tremors," she said softly. Her voice was like a warm blanket on a cold night. She never asked personal questions and never pried into his past. She just sat there, a calm, steady, and quietly caring presence. In her presence, Ethan felt his tight nerves slowly loosen. For the first time in 3 long years, something warm flickered inside his chest, dangerously close to hope. 4 weeks passed like a slow healing montage. Lena was changing him for the better. Ethan started shaving again. The whiskey bottles vanished from his kitchen, and he took long walks during the daytime. His nightmares reduced slightly. They spent their late nights together, eating warm food from trucks at 2 a.m., sitting on cold train platforms, and watching the sleeping city. They walked along the River Thames under one shared umbrella. Sometimes they talked for hours about books, movies, and meaningless things. Sometimes their silent walks felt deeper and more intimate than any conversation. But dark cracks were forming beneath the peace. Lena avoided mirrors and shiny surfaces. One rainy night, her sleeve slipped back, revealing deep purple bruises on her wrists. She quickly hid it and smiled weakly. "A difficult patient," she muttered. Her phone rang at odd hours. When she saw the screen, her face turned pale and she declined the calls immediately. Meanwhile, Ethan's nightmares evolved. Claire's face became painfully clear underwater. Her lips moved desperately, repeating a word he could not hear yet. That night, a violent thunderstorm hit London. Lightning tore the black sky apart, and thunder shook the windows. Ethan sat alone in his apartment when his laptop pinged sharply. An email from his dead wife's old deactivated account, claire.cole@archivelink.net. The subject line read, "You missed something." His blood ran cold. With shaking hands, he opened the file. It was a heavily corrupted video. He restored it frame by painful frame using his old tools. The video showed Claire running through a dark concrete parking garage. The camera was shaking wildly, and her breath was panicked. Heavy footsteps echoed behind her. She hid behind a pillar, crying, and looked straight into the lens. She whispered, "Ethan, if you watch this, I am already gone. They lied about the bridge. Don't trust the reports. They are inside my head. They did something to my mind, and they..." Then the video cut with a loud electronic screech and went black. The official police report had said it was suicide from Blackwater Bridge due to depression, but the video proved the truth. She was hunted. Ethan became a man possessed. He built a chaotic investigation wall filled with red strings, photos, maps, and police reports. He barely ate or slept. Soon he uncovered Nexera Labs, officially a high-end psychiatric facility for trauma victims, but secretly a center for memory rewriting. He drove deep into the countryside and found the abandoned building. It was a decaying concrete fortress in the dark forest, with rain leaking through the broken roof. In the basement archives, after searching desperately, he found a thick folder marked EC-17, Ethan Cole. The records showed complete trauma erasure. His final 7 days before his spouse's death were completely reconstructed by them. Brain scans and records of payments revealed the terrifying truth. They did not just kill his wife. They had reached inside his mind and stole his memories. Ethan's sanity was hanging by a thread. He called Lena to a subway station and demanded answers. The crowded platform was filled with the noise of rushing commuters. As a train arrived, he grabbed her shoulders tightly. "Did you know my wife?" he growled, the wild look in his eyes dangerous. Lena turned completely pale. Ethan shouted over the noise, "I found the Nexera files. My name is in them. Tell me the truth, Lena." People began to stare as the train screamed through the tunnel. Lena cried, tears streaming down her face, and she didn't deny it. "Do not look any further, Ethan. Please stop for your own sanity," she begged. The high-pitched screech of the train's brakes triggered a violent flashback. Suddenly, Ethan's mind shattered, and he was back on Blackwater Bridge on that stormy night 3 years ago. Claire was hanging from the wet metal railing, screaming for her life. A woman in a dark raincoat was holding her hands tightly, crying in the rain. Lightning flashed, illuminating the scene and revealing the woman's face clearly. It was Lena. Ethan returned to reality, shaking and staggering backward in pure horror. "You were there," he whispered, staring at her like she was a monster. They went back to Lena's small apartment while thunder raged outside. Lena broke down completely, sitting on the floor against the wall. She confessed to the Nexera corruption and their memory manipulation. "I was a young resident," she wept. "I thought we were helping people, but they became greedy. Claire discovered the truth. They sent me to stop her and take the files, but on the bridge, she panicked. The rain was too strong, and Claire's foot slipped on the wet railing. I grabbed her hands, Ethan. I tried to save her with everything I had, but my grip was too weak. She fell into the darkness. When you arrived seconds later and saw me, you broke down. Nexera erased your memory and assigned me to watch you. But the more time I spent with you, the more I fell in love with you. This is my greatest sin. Before going to the authorities, Ethan found one final hidden video message from Claire on Lena's laptop. Claire said, "If you remember everything, Ethan, know that Lena is a victim too. She has been protecting you from Nexora. Don't destroy yourself with hatred." 6 months later, Nexora was destroyed by the government and the executives were arrested. Ethan disappeared from public view. Now, thick snow covered Blackwater Bridge. Lena placed a bouquet of white lilies on the railing. Footsteps crunched in the snow, and Ethan arrived looking older with streaks of gray in his hair. They stood together as the snow kept falling. No words, no grand forgiveness, no promises of love. Just two deeply broken human beings standing side by side in the cold, looking down at the frozen river. The camera slowly pulled back, leaving two small figures alone as the world moved on. The darkness is spreading, and the secrets of the Blackwater Files are just beginning to unravel. If you want to survive the next chapter, subscribe now and turn on the notifications. Don't let the truth stay buried in the dark.